The US will withdraw its soldiers from Niger as the West African nations are increasingly turning to Russia and away from Western powers. Russia is increasing its influence in the African region. The US Department of State agreed to pull out about 1,000 troops from the country that has been under military rule since July 2023. Washington is committing to begin planning an orderly and responsible withdrawal of its troops from the country, while Putin has opened House of Africa to strengthen Russia-Africa relationship by enhancing diplomatic, business, and cultural activities. What do you think that what is in it for Russia? To strengthen ties with Russia? Or to reduce the Western influence including US and Africa? Or for the business expansion through Africa's mineral-rich regions to cover the loss of the Russia-Ukraine war? Let's uncover all these questions in this video, so be with us until the end to know about the full details. The US built a military base in Niger to combat armed groups that pledged allegiance to Al-Qaeda and ISIS in the Sahel region, which also includes Burkina Faso and Mali. The major airbase in Agadez, some 920 kilometers from the capital Niamey, was used for manned and unmanned surveillance flights and other operations. Known as Airbase 201, it was built at a cost of more than $100 million. Since 2018, it has been used to target ISIS fighters and Jama'at Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin Jainim, an Al-Qaeda affiliate. We are not going to describe too much of it again, because we've already made 2 detailed videos on it, which you can watch by clicking link in the description when this video ends. The withdrawal, expected to occur over the coming months, will mean the closure of a US drone facility. The base, one of the main US drone facilities in Africa, has been used in operations against jihadist groups in the Sahel region and was reportedly the launchpad for a series of deadly strikes against Islamic State fighters in Libya in 2019. Senior State Department and Pentagon officials visited Niger earlier this year in an effort to keep the military agreement intact. The visit was not a success, with Nigerian figures voicing anger over what they said were unfounded American suspicions of negotiations to allow Iran access to Niger's uranium resources, potentially enhancing Tehran's nuclear program. We've already made a video on this, and link is mentioned in the description, which you can watch after this video ends. Let's get back to the topic. The departure of American forces from Niger follows the expulsion of French troops after last summer's coup. While Burkina Faso's military junta has expelled 3 French diplomats, accusing them of subversive activities, France said there were no grounds to expel the diplomats. The expulsions are the latest sign of worsening relations between the two nations, since Captain Ibrahim Traoré seized power in a coup in 2022. He has pivoted Burkina Faso towards Russia, ending its close ties with France, the former colonial power. Russia reopened its embassy in Burkina Faso in December after it was shut more than 30 years ago, while the French ambassador was expelled by the junta. Russia is also helping the West African state to strengthen its military capabilities to fight jihadists after the junta forced France to shut its military base. Russia's military intelligence service is offering African governments a regime survival package that provides military and diplomatic support in exchange for access to strategically important natural resources. The Royal United Services Institute RUSI, the world's oldest defense and security think tank, detailed how the rebranded Wagner Group in Africa is working to associate and expand Moscow's strategic relationships across the continent through guarantees of regime security and geopolitical protection in exchange for profitable mining concessions. Wagner has for many years been a key component of the Kremlin's efforts to grow its influence in politically unstable countries across Central Africa and the Sahel, including the Central African Republic, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Sudan. It is proposed that Russia's relations with Niger could be used to threaten French access to uranium mined in the country, further increasing the French energy sector's dependence on Russian-supplied uranium. The logic of this offer is that Russia will provide elites in target countries with military support, economic and political protection from backlash via the UN or other international mechanisms, and the support of political technologists to sell their popularity domestically. As also evidenced in the Central African Republic, Wagner was also highly adept at creating domestic information channels through which to disseminate the Kremlin's message. These efforts run alongside the aim of closing off relationships that target countries have with the West, where partners are reluctant to maintain links with partner militaries in the event of massacres or international law violations. Before we proceed further, discussing Russia's move to land bombers in Africa and its increasing influence, I'd like to hear from you. Are you finding this video informative? Feel free to share your thoughts and questions in the comment section below. And if you're finding it helpful, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Your support means a lot to us and helps us reach a wider audience and the content that you'll love. Let's continue this journey together. Rusi suggests that Moscow is exploiting an opportunity to use persistent instability in Africa to push migration into Europe and trigger further political destabilization, all part of a long game of unconventional warfare. Finland recently shut down its Russian borders, accusing Moscow of funneling migrants toward them in response to the country's NATO ascension, an accusation the Kremlin denies. In this regard, the GRU at this moment in time sees uniquely fertile ground. Russian flags and messages of support for Russian President Vladimir Putin have become commonplace at mass protests in support of recent military takeovers or against traditional governments across Africa. Russia landed 2 nuclear-capable bombers in South Africa on a training mission, a flight apparently timed to coincide with President Vladimir Putin's opening of a flagship Russia-Africa summit designed to increase Russian influence. Speaking before dozens of African heads of state, Putin called for trade with African countries to double over the next 4 to 5 years and said Moscow had written off African debts to the tune of over $20 billion. Many Russian companies have long and successfully worked with partners from the most different sectors of the African economy and plan to expand their influence in Africa. The prize is greater political clout on a continent with 54 United Nations member states, vast mineral wealth, and potentially profitable markets for Russian-manufactured weapons. But Russia is starting from a low base. Although it has enjoyed considerable success selling arms to African countries, Moscow lags far behind competitors in trade terms. Russia says its trade with African countries rose to $20 billion last year, but it did not rank among the continent's top 5 largest partners for trade in goods. That list was topped by the European Union, followed by China, India, the United States, and the United Arab Emirates. U.S. officials have vowed to counter what they see as Moscow's growing political and economic clout in Africa, as well as that of China, which has long had a large economic presence there and began its own series of Africa summits in 2006. Russia and Nigeria signed a deal to supply 12 Russian-made Mi-35 attack helicopters to Nigeria. RYA news agency cited a senior official at Russia's Federal Military Technical Cooperation Service. Putin accused former colonial powers in the West of intimidating African countries to exploit the continent's resources. Putin said that, "We see how an array of Western countries are resorting to pressure, intimidation, and blackmail of sovereign African governments." Apart from that, Russia's capital Moscow opened its House of Africa, Russia's central platform for diplomatic, business, and cultural activities aimed at developing Russian-African relations. This is a significant event for the cooperation between Russia and African countries. It is of great importance. It is an exchange platform, a communication platform, which will allow any African to have any information that concerns them about Russia, and which will also allow any Russian to have any information that concerns them about the African continent. The House of Africa network across the Russian country is a result of the Humanitarian and Economic Forum African International Congress held in April 2023, where stakeholders including diplomats, government officials, businessmen, scientists, and cultural figures from Russia and African countries came together to discuss mutual affairs. Do you think that Russia would top the list of trade partner countries with Africa in the coming years? Or it'll be growing on a slow pace? Today's era is a fast world, where new inventions are revolutionizing the globe. So Russia would have to take some fast steps towards Africa for business expansion, and hence providing security and fighting with militants as well. Or it is some sort of geopolitical game by Russia? Let us know your opinions in the comment section, and don't forget to share the video, and like and click on the subscribe button as well for remaining updated of the current trends in this fast-paced modern world. And most importantly, don't forget to watch our previous on similar topics for the better understanding. Links are mentioned in the description. Until next video, stay tuned.